For one reason or another, I've seen a lot of posts like this ranking Gigabyte as one of the least desirable GPU brands, and aside from price, of course, there seems to be a lot of focus on how much faster an AIB GPU is out of the box than a Founders Edition, or how good the VRMs are. But have we lost focus on what really matters? Well, I'd actually argue yes, which is why today I'm not going to waste your time by talking about which RTX 4080 Super is 1% faster than the other, as everybody and their grandma has a performance review on the 4080 Super at this point. And I'll tell you guys a secret. Come here. They're all basically the same. And sure, there's the RX 7900 XTX, which we could compare the 4080 Super to, but let's be honest, guys, if you're here for this video, you've pretty much already decided you want an RTX 4080 Super. So again, I'm not gonna waste your time. Let's talk about what really matters with the Gigabyte RTX 4080 Super Gaming OC, which by the way was provided to me as a loaner unit from Gigabyte. It's going back, and that is not going to affect my opinion on this GPU. So what does actually matter? Well, in my opinion, there's four things: price, looks, noise, and the warranty. And two of those four things we can go ahead and knock out right now. The price is $100 higher than a Founders Edition model, coming in at $1,100, or roughly 10% higher. And it does also come with a generous 4-year warranty. Now, is it worth spending $100 more for a card that, in my opinion, does actually look worse? Because sure, it doesn't look too bad. I think it's really big and intimidating. It's got a lot of surface area for all that heat to get out, and I do kind of like it overall, but honestly, the 4080 Super Founders Edition looks absolutely insane. That thing is a work of art. So I definitely think that one looks better. And also on top of that, in terms of performance, yeah, it's just not going to be really any noticeably better than the 4080 Super Founders Edition. Sure, it's a tiny bit better technically if you go ahead and look at these Time-Spy Extreme as well as Port Royale scores, but you're not going to notice that. So is it really worth it? And actually, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and here's why. Now, first of all, if you're an overclocker, you do get the benefits such as 2 different BIOS modes and roughly 50 watts more max power to play with, thanks to a 25% offset in MSI Afterburner versus the 10% on the Founders Edition, which can help you achieve higher clock speeds. But to be honest, the 40 series overclocks like garbage. So really, it's just nice for that BIOS backup and the fact that it'll be easier to disassemble, as it only has 15 easy to access screws. However, a big reason you may consider an AIB card has to do with the noise and temperatures. And while both the temperatures and the fan noise aren't actually that different from a Founders Edition card, in fact, on my model, they're a little bit worse, there's one thing Gigabyte has been absolutely nailing time and time again, and why I keep coming back to their GPUs ever since the 30 series at least, and that's coil whine. Now, coil whine is a huge deal on GPUs, and it is something that we can't 100% control. I mean, from one GPU to another, even the same exact model can have different amounts of coil whine. However, Gigabyte seems to be doing something right with their GPUs, because with this one right here, and with basically every single other Gigabyte GPU I've had, again, since the 30 series, I have had some really good luck on the coil whine of these cards. They've just been far, far lower than many other, not only like the Founders Edition, but also other AIB cards. And this is a really big deal, guys, because especially if you're someone who wants to, say, water cool these things, as soon as you take that cooler off, that coil whine is going to be far worse. And in my opinion, coil whine is far more loud and far more annoying than the fan speed sounds itself, because fans, sure, they might have that low hum to them, especially as they get into those higher RPMs, but a coil whine noise of that stuff just absolutely drives me bananas, and is a big reason why I do actually personally specifically seek out Gigabyte graphics cards. I have had probably a dozen of these things in my hand since the 30 series, and every single time the coil whine has been far, far lower than the majority of other brands that I have personally tested. Now again, this is going to be a little bit luck of the draw, and say a dozen samples isn't necessarily enough to say that every single Gigabyte card will for sure have lower coil whine, but I have also talked to my friends who've had Gigabyte cards and they've had a similar experience. So there's got to be something that Gigabyte is doing with these cards to minimize the coil whine that some other people, including NVIDIA with their Founders Edition, aren't doing. So yeah, honestly, to me, coil whine when it comes to an AIB card is probably one of the biggest reasons to buy them outside of the price. So, you know, if this was $999, I'd be like, definitely buy this over the Founders Edition, because I think personally you're probably gonna have good luck getting lower coil whine on these cards. But at $100 more, it does become a little bit of, well, what do you want? You know, the 4080 Super Founders Edition looks better, it's cheaper, and honestly seem to be performing a little bit better temperature-wise as well. But if your main concern is that annoying coil whine noise that I know mine is, I actually would recommend this over the Founders Edition. I would personally buy it. I would, for $100 more than the Founders Edition, just because I think I'm going to get far lower coil whine out of these cards. But again, that's up to you. Honestly, there's a ton of cards on the market too, as well as the 7900 XTX, which have their own benefits as well. But I wanted to bring you guys this video and do this real quick review, I guess, to give you guys my opinion on what you should be looking for in an AIB card. Again, noise, price, warranty, and whether or not you feel like it looks good. So I'll leave that up to you guys. Link in the description to this card if you want, but if you buy it or not, I don't care. Honestly, I'm not getting paid or anything like that. I'm just giving you my honest opinion on Gigabyte graphics cards.
If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, AMD and NVIDIA release new GPUs. Also, if you want to see more, check out one of these related videos. You won't be disappointed.